But what we've been talking about is Hermie Sadler, as you know or may not know, is running for the Republican nomination for the Senate, the state Senate in the 17th district. I'm in the 7th district, hopefully going to be reelected there. But you're running in a brand new district. And part of what you do is in the nominating process, determine who will be the Republican nominee and who will be the Democrat nominee. And the Republican Party at the local level legislative district committee chose a primary, which then the state Republican Party of Virginia apparatchik turned and switched after the order was entered and published by the State Board of Election into a convention that seemed to be only known to your opponent, who was putting it out there on social media and websites of time, place, and manner, when, where, what, why, how.
And don't forget during this process that somehow or another, we also have a situation where a known supporter of my opponent has now been the newly appointed chair of this somehow new Suffolk GOP unit
that they dissolved. That
they dissolved and have started another one with only 4 people.
Yeah.
And they've put a guy named Steve Trent in there who, you don't have to believe me, you can look on VPAP and see that he donated to my opponent. He's somehow now allegedly in charge of the Suffolk GOP, which will have a major hand in designing the layout and the rules, et cetera, of this potential convention, which, by the way, as far as I know, as we're sitting here right now, even though my opponent has all this information on her website and Facebook, as far as I know, there's not been an order or a call for a convention sent from the LDC to the State Board of Elections.
I'm not shocked. I heard they were trying to get the coordination of that convention itself done by email, which is impossible to do under Robert's Rules of Orders and the rules of how you pick political processes and get them approved. You do that
I've
by
had plenty of people tell me in last week, don't worry about it. We're going to make sure it's fair.
Yeah. Well, at least we're going to have some judicial review because hot off the presses just filed, I believe, on Friday, which was just the last business day before we got back together here today at Faux Show. Dawn Jones, the chairman, who was the chairman of the Suffolk Committee, and then was appointed and elected as the chairman of the Republican Legislative District Committee for the 17th Senate District, has filed a lawsuit in the Circuit Court for the City of Richmond challenging what the State Board of Elections did. And so she has sued the State Board of Elections and Susan Beals, not for money. Everybody, when you talk about a lawsuit, they think that it's for money. She's actually asked for an emergency complaint for injunctive relief, which is using the equitable powers of the court to stop something that's been done. Injunction, as you know.
What is she saying the State Board of Elections did or did not do?
She is saying that the State Board of Election put out properly the order for a primary in the 17th Senate District race for the Republican Party, pursuant to her filing of a form, pursuant to the law in the Code of Virginia, which says if that form has been properly submitted, then the State Board of Elections must put out an order for a primary. That was done. We talked about that in the prior podcast. And then they pulled it back based on outside pressures that they allege in this complaint. And a complaint is a civil piece of paper that lays out a cause of action, the injury, and why someone's entitled to relief. And then that State Board of Election, when they pulled it back, this new 17th Senate Legislative District Committee, which is under protest, run by the same guys you were talking about from Suffolk, came in and ordered or voted for a convention, even though they have not done time, place, manner. And what she's saying is that what the State Board of Elections and the Commissioner of the Department of Elections, Susan Beals, did in their official capacity was to injure her because they failed to perform their non-discretionary duties due to an alleged intra-party political dispute. The defendants have no mandate or responsibility to consider or resolve. And what that means is the State Board of Elections doesn't get into and cannot get into intra-party squabbles. When they have a piece of paper from someone who has the apparent authority and actually has the authority as Dawn Jones has, and when she filed it properly and she was the chairman of the LDC for the 17th district, then SB could not get into the fight and call for a primary or a convention or get involved. So when they ordered the primary, that was the right thing to do. When they yanked it back because of Republican pressures at the top of that political pyramid, that was an improper thing to do, and they violated her rights. So this thing's probably on a fast track in the circuit court for the city of Richmond, it's going to go pretty fast because you got to make these determinations. I knew right now, and talking to you, I know you've been working on getting signatures and preparing for a primary. And now at the same time, having to do a secondary track, which is consider getting delegates to
convention.
a convention.